Cam hit a driver off the deck from like 280 or 290 or something on the 17th hole, and it's a pin that's tough to get close to with a sandwich, and he hit it to 12 feet with a driver. So probably the shot of the tournament. This probably wasn't the shot heard around the world. This was like the shot heard around Melbourne, maybe.
Hello, this is Alan Shipnuck back for another Fire Drill podcast. This is an extra special one. Joining us from Melbourne is Geoff Ogilvy, as usual, but not as a podcaster, as the host of the Sandbelt Invitational, which just concluded moments ago. And his sitting to his left. Well, Geoff, why don't you introduce your guest? Gas her up a little bit.
Well, yeah, this is probably the star of the show. Second overall in the tournament. Leading female in the tournament, Momoka Kobori. She's had an unbelievable tournament. She pushed Cam Davis all the way down the line all week. She broke 2 course records this week, Kingston Heath and Royal Melbourne, I think. So you don't break course records at Kingston Heath and Royal Melbourne every day. You certainly don't do it all in the same tournament. So one of the stars of the show for sure, pushed Cam all the way down to the last hole. I didn't see any of her play today except for up the last because I was doing my thing, too busy taking big divots and looking for balls in the rough. But everyone I heard come off the course going, oh, my God, she's playing incredible. She's pushing Cam. What a battle. You got to go out there and watch it. So, yeah, she put on a great show.
Yeah, so Momoka, congratulations. What did it feel like to have a chance to win this tournament? You know, anytime you're in contention, obviously there's nerves and there's excitement, and but obviously Cam Davis is a very established player. There's a lot of other well-known, male touring pros on that leaderboard, and you were racing past all of them. Like, just how exciting was that for you?
Yeah, honestly, it was probably. I just want to say, probably one of the most fun I've had on the course in a long time, I want to say, this week. Yeah, I mean, I got to play with Cam for the last 3 rounds, which was, amazing, as we all know, achieved some amazing things, and just being able to watch what he does around the course as well, just how he plays the ball. And it's obviously, pretty different to how I do it. So it was actually a lot to kind of, take in for me. And, yeah, it was actually quite funny. Like you said, we all get, the nerves and adrenaline going down the stretch, but it was quite funny. I think we were on the 17th hole today. So I had my coach Dom on the bag, and I was just saying to him, I actually don't know what I'm shooting right now, or what Cam is, or how far behind I am, or anything like that, which was, usually I tend to kind of know where I'm sitting and, can't really help but to think about the score. But this week kind of, it was, I guess we were kind of so focused on trying to hit it in the same spots. And, I guess the course being so challenging, you kind of have to, give yourself a good place, good shots in, and put yourself in the right spot. So that was, in a way, probably a unique experience, I think, for me. But just overall, just honestly had so much fun out there. I think from, I've heard the same thing from a lot of players, just such a unique opportunity to be able to play, these 4 amazing courses on the Sandbelt, all in one week, which is, it's you never get that opportunity anywhere else. So honestly, just, big thanks to Geoff, really, just for putting this all together for all of us. And I think all of us just really enjoyed our time out here.
So did your coach tell you where you were? I mean, did you know on the last couple of holes that you had a chance to snatch that trophy?
We were kind of guessing. We were like, oh, I think I'm 2 under for the day, and I think Cam's 1 ahead of you, but we're not really sure. That was actually the conversation we had coming down, I think the 17th, the par 5. So I think we kind of had a rough idea, but we weren't really sure. We were like, oh, it doesn't really matter. Just do what we can, try to make 2 birdies last 2 holes, and, if that's enough to win it, it is. And if it's not, it's not. Kind of, we had that kind of pretty chilled out mentality going out there. So that was, that was a lot of fun as well.
Geoff, wouldn't you love to have that kind of just mental clarity in contention? Just don't worry about it, just make birdies, and that's a dream, right? Yeah.
I've never been. Well, I guess sometimes when you just black out and shoot 900 or something one day, and you don't even know what you're doing in those days when you get in the zone or whatever. But that's a handful of times in 30 years. You know what I mean? Generally, you know exactly what you're having, and you're either excited because you're playing well and you're in the lead, or you're grumpy because you're not. Usually very, very aware. But yeah, it's kind of part of this tournament, I think, is so it's still at a very pure place, so there's not leaderboards everywhere. Usually you're just hit in the face with where you're at everywhere you turn. Like, I mean, especially in the PGA Tour, you're like, there's a leaderboard everywhere, and it's like you're seeing highlights from other people's holes on the screens all the time, and like it's a whole different sort of vibe. It's kind of nice to go back to pure people walking, like spectators on the fairways. Everyone just 4 different courses, I think, sort of adds to that sort of. It's an adventure. You play 72 different holes in a tournament, you know. So to actually do well in the end is actually pretty nuts to be up the top of the leaderboard, because that's, as I said, normally you sort of get to you go Thursday, Fridays, but by the time you get to Saturday, you're kind of learning the course and working out how to play it. This one, you got a whole new course every day. I mean, they're all in similar condition, but they're all a little bit different. Kingston Heath was as tough as not as tough as it gets, but it was firm, fast. It's a really awkward course to play well. Kingston Heath, I find, always. Royal Melbourne is a challenge all of its own. And then Yarra Yarra was really different. They have different greens. They have really fast power greens compared to the other 3 are bent. They all actually have a different grass on the greens, these courses, which makes it sort of an adjustment every day. And that's sort of, I think, part of it, because part of this tournament, it's a tournament to sort of showcase the golf courses. It's to give everyone an opportunity to sort of, the amateurs a chance to play with the pros, the guys are players to change plans with the girls, and I mean, everyone to play with everyone who we never get to play with each other. So that's really nice. But I think it's almost the perfect tournament for improving your tournament play, because you have to learn a golf course really fast in the morning almost, and you're sort of learning along the way, and you have to sort of make great decisions all the way around without sort of that 3 practice rounds and a couple of rounds under your belt sort of knowledge. You're just going bang, 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 and it's a new hole every hole, and different conditions every day, albeit similar conditions. It's just a cool. It's just turned out there's so many good things to this tournament that we didn't even think of. We just thought, well, let's just put a few people on the Sandbelt 4 days in a row and see what happens. But there's so many sort of side sort of benefits to this tournament and good aspects that we hadn't even thought of until it actually happens. And this is our second one, and it's all happened again. And just up in the clubhouse with a bunch of the players who played and spectators and all the people from the other golf courses all turned up today and stuff. And I've never had so many positive reviews of something. You know, it's just turned out to be a really cool format and a cool idea, and the clubs love it. And we had pristine weather for the first 3 days. I mean, Melbourne's traditionally quite changeable and up and down, but first 3 days were the best 3 days we've had in 2022 comfortably. I mean, it was like 25 Celsius every day, which for you guys is 80 Fahrenheit every single day, no wind, which is really rare for Melbourne, or just a tiny bit of wind. And then today we had rain all morning, but it sort of got really nice at the end there. It was sort of a dark sky with thunderstorms, but it kind of got nice the last couple of holes, and it couldn't have been better. Really good. And the course was so good. I mean, the conditioning is so ridiculous here, how good they all are. And they're all showing off to try to be sort of better than yesterday, and they want to be the one that stands out amongst the 4. And it's really difficult to stand out amongst these courses because they're all so good. It's just a treat to come every day and get on these courses when they're trying to impress you, you know. And there's 4 of the best courses in the world all trying to impress you. They come up pretty good, you know. So that was great fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, congrats to you, Geoff, because like you've pulled this off. I mean, and this was kind of the best case scenario of the finish. I mean, Cameron Davis, PGA Tour winner, President's Cup. You had made a great showing there. Yeah, it was you know, other than yourself, was probably the marquee player in the field, and to have him win it, but to be pushed to the, you know, part of the, obviously the mission of this tournament is to bring men and women together to play together, and boys and girls. I mean, you have some teenagers, and so to have Momoka like chasing down Cam like that's what you dreamed about, right?
It was a total dream, and to get the setup right. So it matched up, because Cam hits at 330 yards, right? Like, it's a different sort of like level, and to match it up, and it obviously worked out pretty well, right? It seemed fair, I think.
I think so. It worked out pretty well because, you know, I think it balanced out really well because since we had some of the holes that were, you know, that played as reasonably easier par fives for us and tough par four for the guys. And then there were also holes where, we'd be teeing off similar holes, which then, similar tees, sorry, which then kind of balanced that out, I think, across the board. So I think it worked out really well, which, it was really, really cool to see. I mean, it's obviously really tough to get that right, I think, it's so hard to get that balance right because it's just, so many variables out there. But I thought it was, playing really cool, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we had the best guy in the field and the best girl in the field coming up the last, separated by one shot. So I guess it worked out really well. So we don't do it total strokes. We do it relative to par.
Right.
Which is, I think, a better way to match it up, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, and it worked out perfectly. Yeah, so Cam and Momoka were clearly the two best players in the field, and as I said, they were separated by, they were tied, I think, with 2 to play, actually.
I think so. Something
And Cam, by all reports, I didn't see it, but Cam hit a driver off the deck from like 280 or 290 or something on the 17th hole, and it's a pin that's tough to get close to with a sandwich, and he hit it to 12 feet with a driver. So probably the shot of the tournament. It's a shame it probably wasn't captured on live TV or something, because it would have been like the shot of the year or something, apparently.
I was going to say that sounds like Sarazen's, hole out at Augusta. Which was the second playing of the Masters. That you need a shot like that to kind of help put things on the map. So this
probably wasn't the shot heard around the world. This was like the shot heard around Melbourne, maybe.
It's a start. Well, so Momoka, let's talk about what this means for your career. Obviously you're 23 years old, turned pro last year after having a very nice career at Pepperdine, and you've had success on the developmental tours. But what will this week do for you and, to push you forward in your young career?
Yeah, I think what kind of happened this week in a lot of areas, I feel like gives me a bit of confidence going into next season. I guess, I mean, there's a lot of things that kind of happened this week, but being able to play kind of against the quality of the field that we were able to this week and on the courses that are, set up not easy at all, even compared to any other courses around the world that we'll get to play. I mean, the setup of it is, absolutely pure, difficult, there'll be difficult pins, the condition of the greens, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I think being able to kind of play the way I was able to kind of confirms that the stuff that I've been working on leading up to, this week and the last few weeks have actually been a real positive. Being able to do that on a tournament, there'll be things that we'll be working on at all times, and we'll be, just be on the range, practice rounds, we'll be like, oh yeah, we've got them, but being able to do them in a tournament situation like this is, can sometimes be an entirely different story. So I think in that sense, this was such a great opportunity for me to be able to test that as well. In a proper tournament situation, which, we don't always get the chance to do. And, now we're kind of going into the summer, Christmas break kind of thing. So I've probably got 3-4 weeks to work on a few things that I was able to kind of pick up on this week. And so, for me, like this week, I just feel like I just got so much out of it, really. Kind of learnt a lot about my own game, learnt a lot about from watching the guys play as well, especially, not to mention watching Cam play, but, playing with Mecca today. And, it was actually, I find it really cool being able to play with the guys, like watching them close up, because, we might play in the same tournament quite a few times, but we often get to watch close up what they do. And I feel like there's a lot that we can kind of learn from, how they play the game and that kind of stuff. So yeah, across the board, just got so much out of it. So really excited for the season coming up next year.
Any fun little tidbits you can share about like specific shots or putting drills or anything that you were able to witness this week that it kind of clicked and you've already sort of incorporated into what you do?
I feel like I saw from the guys mainly, because I didn't really get the chance to watch the other girls this week, but I feel like compared to what I do, I feel like a lot of the guys shape the ball really well into the greens, which, it's being able to do that, I think a lot of times can be a massive advantage depending on, the pin placements, knowing and using the contours of the greens, that kind of stuff. I feel like there's a lot of creativity that I saw throughout the week, which, I think there were a couple times I was watching and be like, oh, I'd probably play it like this, kind of picturing it in my head, and, sometimes it'll be similar and then sometimes it'll be like completely different. I'd be like, oh, wow, like I did not think of doing that. So, there's a few things like that, which, I kind of remember back, looking back on the last, 3-4 days. So, that's always cool to see.
Yeah, that's great. Kind of expands your notion of what's possible a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So those who have an ear for accents will notice that you don't have the Aussie like Geoff, but you're actually from New Zealand. Now, I'm wondering, has Lydia been an influence and a mentor for you, Lydia Ko?
She has been a big influence on me for sure. I think we're actually not too far in age, I think, but just even when I was a junior, 14, 15, 16, that's when she was already on the world stage, I think she was ranked world number 1, I think as early as probably around that time. And I think, she's probably the player that I look up to the most, not just because she's from New Zealand, but, just the amazing personality she has. And I've been lucky to kind of get to know her a little bit more this year. I managed to, play in the Samoan Asia Pacific Cup, which was a teams event. So myself and Lydia were able to, be the represent New Zealand in that event, which was amazing. I got to spend 3 days with her, play in the same group as her. And yeah, she's just such a genuinely nice person that's always that's wanting to help. And, other than, obviously want to be a player like her, but also just kind of as a person, she's someone that I really look up to. So she's been a massive influence to me, not just in golf, but overall.
Yeah, I love that. So Geoff, the highlight of your week between the ropes was obviously a bogeyless tour around Royal Melbourne, your home course and the place that we know you love so much. And you weren't able to string 4 rounds together like that, but as you're continuing to kind of scrape off the rust and get into a little more competitive mindset, what did you learn about where your game is, and does it give you any optimism going forward?
My game is a long way away, I think. I did enjoy Royal Melbourne. I always do. I like the beauty, I think, of Royal Melbourne and courses like that, is that if you know how to, it's so strategic that if you know how to play it, you can be playing poorly and have a good score if you know how you're doing, or know what you're doing. And if you're playing, if you don't know what you're doing, you could play well and have a bad score, which I kind of really like. It's more about knowing how to play the course rather than, we play so much golf that it's all about precision. You hit a good shot and you're rewarded. You hit a bad shot, you're punished. Mechanically speaking, it's an execution contest, whereas Royal Melbourne is more of a game of chess. And it always sort of gets me excited. Yeah, my game's actually total crap, to be honest, but there's signs, there's some good stuff. I mean, I've just you get so much going on, and when you're running, I'm not running this golf tournament by any means. There's a lot of people doing most of the heavy lifting, but there's way more going on just the last few weeks for this tournament than I normally would having a golf tournament. And I'd played golf twice, I think, since the Australian Open. So there was enough good stuff that I'm sort of got some positives. And I did get a little bit of it, as you always do at the end of a crap week. Somewhere on the last 2 or 3 holes, you're like, oh, there it is. Why don't I just do that? So I'm leaving with hope, which is always annoying, right? But exciting as well. So I've got something to go work on. I want to go hit balls now, actually, to be honest, because I've got actually an inkling of an idea that might solve a few of the issues that I've been having. But anyway, it was okay. And it's so fun to play this. I'm just happy that everyone had a good time, and that it's sort of, some of what Momoka's saying is ringing exactly what we want to hear, how much everyone's learning, watching everyone else play golf, play these golf courses. It really is in the spirit of, there's a mentoring aspect, but there's just a learning aspect and an experience aspect. And there's no other golf tournament in the world where you're going to get to play 72 great holes that are all different in a row, 4 days in a row. We got really fortunate with the weather. It would have kind of been nice to see a bit of wind get up a couple of times. but yeah, it's just this, as I said, this tournament, we just kind of wanted a little bit of a nice experience, and hey, let's treat everyone at the end of the year and play 4 good courses and put everyone in the same thing, and let's just have a bit of fun at the end of the year. And it's turned out to be there's so many extras to this tournament that we didn't imagine that are happening. So my golf is plenty of room for improvement, but there's as I said, there was a couple of glimmers there towards the end. Like, Royal Melbourne was a fun day, and it's nice to know I can still play golf course like that okay, even when I'm not really playing super well. But there was some glimmers there. I've got something to work on over Christmas and the next month, really, until I've got anything serious to play again. So we'll see. As always, to be continued.
I love to hear that. Well, obviously, the first playing of the Invitational last year, you threw it together really fast and pulled it off. But it was you're sort of building the airplane while you're flying it. You had this whole year to refine the idea and what's next? I mean, I'm sure you learned a lot this week of things you want to apply. How do you see this evolving into the third annual playing a year from now?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no hurry. I think it's everyone who comes to play it is having a good time. Everyone comes to watch it's having a good time. The clubs are liking it. It's sort of ticking all the boxes that we wanted to achieve. So we just want to gradually improve and just keep investing in the tournament. It's not about raising squillions of dollars and paying lots of people and like having big grandstands and all that. It's not about that at all. It's just about making it a better experience for everyone who comes to play it and everyone who comes to watch it every year. So as you do these things, you can't foresee everything until they happen, So there's 10 or 15 or 20 little things that popped up this week that are just little things that we sort of noticed, and we've taken a few notes, and we'll just improve bit by bit. I mean, we improved a little bit more this year. Our organisation was a little bit better. We had really good communication with the players, I thought, this year. Better balls on the range. Everyone got their yardage books and stuff at the start of the week, and like we just did a few things that were just a little bit better, and we'll just try to just keep doing that. Sort of keep investing in the event. Obviously, try to raise a bit more money so we can do all that sort of stuff. But there's no rush. I think the event's great. Everybody enjoys it. We're just going to just keep polishing and polishing and polishing, and just hopefully we can keep this going for a really long time. I mean, these aren't the only 4 courses on the Sandbelt. There's a couple of clubs who are really putting their hand up hard to get involved.
I'm sure
it's going to be hard to get rid of any. So there'll be discussions going forward. But some of these clubs will be hosting big tournaments, and the year they may be hosting an Australian Open or something. Maybe they do that, and someone else comes in, and so we'll be sort of the clubs. It'll probably maybe end up sort of a rotation thing. But there's more than 4 elite courses on the Sandbelt, which is just a sign of how fortunate we are in Melbourne. So we'll just keep making incremental improvements, and as long as the players have a good time, everybody gets something out of it. The spectators have a good time. The clubs enjoy it. We're winning,
So what if Qantas came to you tomorrow and said, okay, we want to sponsor this. We'll give you a $5 million purse. And, obviously you'd be happy, but maybe that's not what you envision. I mean, I've made this parallel in print between, Bobby Jones started a little tournament and it got kind of big. That was in Georgia. And now we all know you love Down the Fairway, and you have this kinship with Jones, and now you've started this little tournament. I mean, do you fear it could get too big? Like, could that actually happen? Something like that?
I don't fear about big, but we're just not going to compromise and sell out to get sponsorship. I mean, what if Jones and Clifford Roberts, their genius, and the Masters still to this day is they keep investing in the event. They don't put signs on the sides of the fairways, and they could have they barely market that tournament. All their efforts go into making the tournament better, and that's all we really want to do here. And we'd love massive purse and like all that sort of stuff, but that'll come in time if we keep doing a good job at making it a better and better tournament. So we just want to keep, there's no real crazy ambition except to just put on the best 4 rounds we can around the best 4 courses we can, and if the players want to come, they want to come. We don't put any pressure on any big players to come play. We let them all know that it's on. Cam winning is really, really exciting for us because he was probably the best player in the field. Obviously, President's Cup player. Hopefully he goes back and whispers in the locker room that, hey, look, if you're not doing anything later in the year, that Sandbelt tournament's a pretty good tournament. But yeah, we just want everyone to have a good time. We just want to keep just investing in the tournament, and if it elevates to something really big, that would be great, because this on a big scale with everybody watching would be pretty cool. It's already really cool, so it could only get better. So we're not chasing any of that. We're just invested in making it as good an event as we can.
I love that. Momoka, what did Cam say to you when it was over on the last green? Did you have any kind words?
It was nice actually. He kind of came up to me and said, "Hey, like, great playing this week," and I was like, it's just, it's always cool to like have someone come up and say that to you, but to kind of hear that from a player, of his level who has achieved so much, it was really cool. Like, it was like, oh, cool. Like, he reckons that I've played kind of well as well, and that was a cool thing, to hear that. And, it just kind of summed up, what I was able to, do, just playing 3 rounds with him as well. And I guess he got to watch a bit of my game, and I got to watch quite a bit of his game and stuff. So, that was really cool to hear.
Yeah, there's an expression for that. Game recognized game. So he was, had to have been impressed. Well, this is neat. I really appreciate you taking the time to share this achievement with our listeners. Any parting thoughts, Geoff, before we let you go? I mean, as you reflect back on a very successful week.
No, not really. I mean, I think I've said it all. I think it went really well. We sort of set out sort of the goal of the event is to have the best sort of players that we can find come and play the best courses that we have, give everyone a great experience. Hopefully everybody learns a little bit. They have a bit of fun. Everyone gets inspired to maybe start fading it into right pins and drawing it into left pins, and learning, as I think I've said a couple of times this week. I mean, these courses make you a better golfer, and they make you want to be a better golfer, because it's not just an execution contest. There's some brain involved, and the spin and the shaping and sort of thinking your way around the golf course, and just playing off such good grass and putting on such good greens and just looking at such a beautiful hole, all of those sort of things. So total success from our point. We had a great finish, obviously great champions, and a great contest at the end. Just looking forward to next year.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, that was Geoff Ogilvy and Momoka Kobori. I'm Alan Shipnuck. Thanks for listening to this very special Fire Drill podcast from the Sandbelt Invitational. We will certainly keep blowing it out on our channels the next few days with videos and stories and everything else to celebrate this really cool, unique tournament. So that's it for now. And thanks for listening.